Welcome everyone. My name is Federico Barcos from Heide, and I would like to share with you today what I consider it will become a top priority for people analytics: the adoption of the discipline beyond the HR department. Adoption will be the key word of my presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. During the last 7 years, I have executed several people analytics projects as an external consultant, and in almost all of the projects, one of the main concerns after they were concluded was what is next for us? How do I continue with this journey, delivering value to my internal clients? And what I can say is that in almost all of these projects, every time the client was concerned with the sense of continuity. During my presentation, I will try to share my personal experience and also what I consider to be a good practice to accelerate the adoption of people analytics by the leaders of the organization. To start, people analytics teams in most companies are still trying to figure out what kind of value they are going to deliver to their organization. And vice versa, the rest of the organization is trying to understand what kind of value they are going to be receiving from the people analytics team. COVID has accelerated the digital transformation strategies from almost every single company, and business leaders have realized that the exploitation of data can create tremendous competitive advantages that can make a difference against the competitors, and most importantly, the way we manage employees. We have come to the conclusion that understanding the client or implementing a customer-centric initiative is the most sustainable strategy that any company can do. In that same direction, HR departments must do the same, but with an employee-centric strategy. Therefore, the usage and the exploitation of data is central for the future of the HR in order to understand what are the needs of the employees and how to translate people initiatives into business outcomes. Any digital strategy at its core has a data strategy. Data is the most valuable asset for a digital transformation initiative. Therefore, data no longer belongs to an area or a group of people, but belongs to all the employees so that they can make more informed decisions about employees and the business. In the same way, the quality and frequency that managers make decisions based on actionable insights, we draw a line between companies that excel at managing the most important capital for any company, their employees, and those that not. The first step in the people analytics journey could be challenging. Many companies are asking from where to start, what will be the best first step, and in some cases, there is a huge temptation from the HR department to start with the technological aspect of people analytics. This is a path that I strongly do not recommend, and a good starting point will be to clearly define the purpose of the area, to clearly define where the people analytics team is going to deliver value and how to scale it fast. The analytic side of people analytics is tactic, is the tool, the methodology, the mechanics of the function. The objective of the people analytics team is not just to design the infrastructure to do people analytics. It goes far beyond that. The people side of people analytics is the strategic word of the function. The people word is what defines the purpose of the function and the type of value that we want to deliver. Sometimes organizations are so deeply immersed in the day-to-day basis that questions like what kind of business challenge I would like to solve from a people perspective seem sometimes impossible to administer. People analytics is a long-term initiative. Reason why it needs a vision that can challenge us to decide what kind of value a company wants to deliver today and tomorrow. And as a consequence, building a journey that will explain how we'll acquire and develop the technology stack, the skill set, and the operative model that will transform the organization as a whole. That's why it's so important for people analytic teams to design a vision first, a vision or purpose that will guide the people department during harsh economic times or when priorities change that could also put at risk the continuity of the people analytics projects. Every great journey begins with the business question that has the potential to transform the organization. A step into the unknown. The people analytics journey has a lot to do with taking the risk to discover new ways of doing things in the organization, to challenge how things were done in the past, and to uncover new ways to manage people from a business perspective. Switching from a reactive role to a proactive one is the first step to become an agent of change. That is why choosing the objective first and then structuring an operative model is crucial for the success of the team, the first project, and the future of the function. My suggestion is to pick a business challenge as a first project and not an HR challenge. Choosing a business challenge has many benefits for the future of the function. One of the most important arguments will be that the changing priorities of the company will avoid changing the purpose of the project delivering value. Keep in mind that people analytics from a consulting perspective can last between 3 to 6 months at least. And when I refer to a people analytics project from a consulting approach, I am referring to the fact that nothing is automated, everything has to be done manually for the project, and there is no infrastructure established, and the internal client has not yet been educated to what to do with an analytical insight, and that the people analytics team will have to slowly figure out how to build an MVP to solve the business challenge defined for the first project. For that matter, HR business partners have the knowledge and the critical expertise of what is burning in the organization, or know what are the top priorities for the company from a people and business perspective. The people analytics team should work closely with HR business partners in order to understand the different needs and prioritize them, and then choose a quick win that will generate internal momentum in the medium and long term. Remember that the first project will also show areas of opportunities to, for example, better understand what kind of initiatives or policies in terms of that data management can be implemented in the short term. Also, to discover silos in the data, silos in the different technologies. For example, to discover how to transform the company to specifically pick the different challenges for the people analytics team. Also, to discover how to improve the interaction between the different business leaders, or to create or how to create better action plans based on the analytical insights that the people analytics teams is going to generate. And most important, to understand how the business partners, the HR business partner, can transform their own roles for the company. So now the big question is how the people analytics team will deliver value. At the beginning, it will provide insights and recommendations to the organization proactively. At this stage, business leaders are dependent on the people analytics team. Therefore, some business leaders will continue making decisions about their people from a traditional point of view, and some others will start addressing business issues from a people analytics perspective. The first projects of the people analytics journey, if successful, creates a high demand for insights in those areas that are not yet supported by any people analytics project. This can lead to an unsatisfied internal customer. This is why it is so important to establish a vision and to make it clear to the whole organization. Once the people analytics team start delivering value, the need to accelerate the transformation into a data-driven culture emerges and generates a demand for it. Eventually, part of the organization will be making better decisions with descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive insights, and part of the organization will continue making decisions based on gut feeling and descriptive data alone. This is a risk for people analytics teams, a challenge that needs to be addressed as quickly as possible because otherwise the culture of the company could suffer. Therefore, the strategy a company can do to implement or to adopt people analytics is key. Otherwise, people analytics will only live within HR and solving only HR problems. However, let's remember that people analytics teams not only work for HR projects, but also for the rest of the company. At this point, it's critical to introduce the concept of push and pull insights. In order to scale the adoption of people analytics, we need to develop a push and pull strategy of insights. In a push strategy, insights are delivered to business leaders. In a pull strategy, insights are automated and available to business leaders in real time. We need to constantly remind ourselves that people analytics is a diagnosis work. If we want to produce change, we need to transform insights into actions that can lead to different outcomes. The more actions based on data we have, the bigger the impact in the organization. People analytics teams have three main courses of actions: the consulting approach, the tech approach, where the generation of insights is automated for self-service, and the transformation of insights into actions, where HR business partner can transform the insights into better recommendations. People analytics teams have to avoid at all costs to conduct projects or initiatives just to satisfy the intellect or the curiosity of business leaders. People analytics teams need to control how business partners can generate value with insights that are provided. Of course, people analytics teams can fail or cannot find anything interesting in the data, but always keeping in mind that if the organization doesn't change or produces different results, the people analytics initiatives will be irrelevant in time. That's why the adoption of people analytics is so important, and the push and pull strategy makes sense for people analytics teams to develop almost simultaneously. A push and a pull strategy goes hand by hand. Both strategies, even though seems to be familiar, have a radical difference at a cultural level. The push strategy requires a maximum control over the usage and exploitation of data from the people analytics team. The people analytics team tests hypotheses in cycles over time. On the other hand, the pull strategy implies full autonomy from business leaders to make decisions. Insights are out in the open to be used and maximize value. To do so, the people analytics team has trained and developed the different analytical capabilities in the rest of the organization to correctly use the data visualized without a high level of control over it. Data is there to be used and exploited. At this stage is when a company starts its data-driven transformation and the adoption is generalized across the company. Let's see some of the main differences between the two. In a push strategy, insights perish very quickly, which put pressure to transform insights into action by the people analytics team. Hypotheses are tested, and a PowerPoint is used to create storytelling that could eventually be transformed into a dashboard. The C-level at this stage is informed of the different insights and is eager to understand how to improve the business performance. The people analytics team needs time to experiment on the critical insights in order to find causality and scale the action plan to the whole organization. On the other hand, in the pull strategy, insights are generated automatically and visualized in a tech platform so that insights can be consumed 24/7 without the people analytics team involved. The organization is open to share data because it understands the value of making better informed decisions about their employees and the business. Change at this stage happens when the consulting and the technological approach is accepted by the whole organization. In order to generate push and pull insights, people analytics will have to structure an operative model. An operative model is like the engine of a car. It's how we place all the parts in order so that the whole system can work and deliver the results we're looking for. The operative model is what will ensure that the vision or purpose will be achieved in the medium-long term. It's how we are going to structure all the resources available in the organization in pursuit of the benefit that we want to accomplish. The outcomes defined as projects and contained in the vision should guide the usage of resources and define how we establish priorities. It will also define if we are going to execute a push or a pull strategy or a push that is going to end up in a pull strategy. The value of each approach is different but complementary. There is a sequential logic behind the push and the pull strategy. The push strategy challenges cultural attributes, but only in complement with the pull strategy is that the culture of a company is transformed. The iteration over time is what can make the culture a strong driver of business outcomes. The operative model requires to clearly understand what the challenges are for the company and how value will be created over time, and the definition of KPIs will help to define the type of value to be delivered. In the middle, we have the heart of the operative model, where people initiatives will be transformed into products and services. The iteration of this process will create value sustainably and in the long term. Through the operative model, we can see the importance of the vision and the definition of challenges that can persist over time, even though the ups and downs of the company or the changes of the different business priorities. For example, if a people analytics team in the retail sector will have defined to improve the recruitment process just before the pandemic in March of 2020, for sure that project would have been canceled. However, if that same team will have defined sales or customer satisfaction as the main KPIs or challenges, the probabilities of continuing with the project would have been much higher even though the pandemic. As we can see in the first diamond of the operative model, hypotheses are going to be tested. HR business partners will experiment and create new products and services to maximize the employee experience in the second diamond. However, we can find also barriers in order to implement an operative model. Some of them are lack of knowledge or skills in the team, the lack of data availability, organizational support to conduct these kind of projects, a lack of leadership or sponsorship, and a lack of resources. In order to provide value at scale, many factors need to be aligned. Factors like technology, teams, data governance, strategy, culture, and stakeholders. Let's look at some examples. Let's look at stakeholders. Stakeholders are going to help us to define, for example, metrics, KPIs, and objectives of the different projects that the people analytics team is going to conduct. Also, depending on the annual bonuses of the stakeholders, there might be conflicts of interest to conduct the different projects. At a strategy level, we can define what are the type of outcomes that we want to accomplish: cost, customer experience, employee experience, organizational effectiveness, sales, or customer satisfaction. In data governance, ethics and policies needs to be addressed in order to conduct this type of projects. At a technology level, the budget, or who is the budget owner, who is going to pay for the technology, it is also important to identify before we start conducting this type of projects. Also, if there are certain restraints at a global, regional, or local level, it is critical. At a team level, it is important to define where is going to report the people analytics leader. It is going to be located in HR or in any other area. Also, it is important to address if there is any resource or skill gap in order to be filled with either resources from outside the organization or from a different area of the company. And last, the culture. We need to find openness to do things differently, openness to challenge the status quo, and openness to be guided by data and not gut feeling. People analytics lives within a change management culture. One way to measure the scalability of the degree of people analytics level of adoption is to use two metrics: frequency a number of users making decisions based on the data or insights provided from a push and pull strategy. The greater the number of both, the closer we will be to have a data-driven organization. When we talk about a data-driven culture, we are talking that HR is one of the best exploiting data and making data-driven decisions. It is impossible to achieve a data-driven culture with a subjective HR. The adoption maturity level is tied to the complexity of value created. At a low maturity level, the company is generally focused on reducing cost. The KPIs to measure the value created are already established, and most of the data needed to conduct a project is available in the company. For a medium maturity level, companies want to understand the ROI of the initiatives. New KPIs are created, and many of the people initiatives are now perceived as a means to an end, and new data is created to execute this kind of projects. Last but not least, we have the high maturity level. At this level, the people analytics team wants to optimize all the investments conducted in people. A new KPI is established that is called ROP, return over people, similar to the ROA, return over assets, but just for the people of the company. All of the initiatives are directed to optimize every dollar invested in people. The future for the HR business partner role is called agents of change. There is a huge opportunity to rethink the role of the HR business partners, from a supportive role to the business to being the business. Only 21% of the companies consider that they have a culture of change management. If we believe that data is one of the biggest catalysts of change and value, HRBPs will have to learn to work closely with the people analytics teams, defining challenges and creating new products and services for organizations. HRBPs have the mandate to create a data-driven culture. Moreover, when most of the companies are implementing digital strategies and putting the customer at the core of the business. Wouldn't it be logical to do the same with our employees, our most important client? The role of the HRBPs will shift from a reactive role that acts on request from line managers to become agents of change that can proactively suggest and implement new initiatives in order to impact the business. No longer talking about the business and something external to HR, but understanding that the business is the people that conforms the organization, and HR has a central and vital role in it. At last, I would like to leave you with a few central questions to think about the future of HR and people analytics and the people analytics department in your organization. Is it possible to have a data-driven culture if HR is not data-driven? Is it possible to be effective with a customer-centric strategy when HR is centered in processes? HR transformation will be only possible when HRBPs act as agent of change and propose initiatives based on data in order to understand how people initiatives impact different outcomes. The level of adoption of people analytics by the whole organization depends on the number of use cases that are created and the type of business impact that is generated. Going from a project-based area of people analytics to a way of living and breathing analytics to manage the business is the end goal for HR. And the metrics we can use to measure if a company is adopting an analytic culture is our frequency and the number of people making better informed decisions. The adoption and scalability is what enables a data-driven HR. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to share with you all my experience in People Analytics project. I am leaving you with my information, my contact information in case you want to be in touch with me. Thank you very much.